And so Go Seigen, his original idea with the new Seki was to play a speed-oriented opening and move to the sides quickly, and to sort of have a balanced game. Even now he says chowa, which is the Japanese word for balance, a very balanced overall position. And so it's the harmony or balance of the whole overall position that he was interested in. And so he generally tried to keep, that's why he started playing star point. In this game he's not playing, he only played one star point. But at this time with black he was usually playing 2 star points to start the game. So he liked to play the star point and move quickly to the sides. Sort of almost a Sanensei type, but he didn't play 3 games. He always got mad at me when I played 3 moves almost out of the board. So when I started going to Go Seigen's study group, I was playing the Chinese opening. And it was my favorite opening at that time. But he made me stop because he thought that 3 moves on one side of the board was too much. So I had to start attacking my opponent's corners immediately. So that was sort of interesting. And I think you see, so he was always a speed-oriented style. He believed in playing, looking at the overall position. And so after the new opening, and I remember that Tani also played titles like this. Well, as I was saying, Go Seigen from the beginning was playing the star. Sanensei, or he would play the Tengen. He also liked to play the Sansan, the 3-3 point. And so there's a famous game where you play this and this, and I forget she was like the Tengen. Almost won. At that time there was a big difference, supposed difference in strength. And so it was quite a sensation that he even almost won. And there was this big issue about how Maeda had maybe given Jubango suicide the leading move. Maybe. And actually, Kitani was more interested in unusual moves, like high moves on the 5th line. So he played the 5-5 point, and he played high moves. Moves that would not be so surprising nowadays, maybe, but they were. Yamashita played this a lot when he was a young player, quite successfully actually. And then he quit. But he was still a strong player then. He's a bit not so doing so well right now. And then after a while, he changed to a very territory-oriented style, and so he sort of almost you could say he quit the new Seki. And again, this is another kind of trademark of Go Seigen's. This Kakari, he played the double, the 2-space high Kakari, yeah. And
it's like giving a page of easy.
Yes, a very difficult move to imitate, actually, because there's Go Seigen's plan here is so complicated that it's almost impossible to understand or explain. And I spent about 10 to 15 years going to his study group, and I don't really understand it now. And of course it had to change since the Nagare Joseki changed, because at this time, Go Seigen actually had a lead. He was ahead of everyone else in his study of the Nagare. He was more or less inventing new moves at this time. I'm not really sure of the timetable again, but it was the Nagare Joseki was his specialty. So one of the parts of his study was that at some point he's going to push here, and black leaves the position. And if black plays there, well, this is what Kitani likes to do. But of course, I think this is usually slightly better for white, because it's playing like this is more efficient, the normal Joseki. And so compared to this Joseki, it's a bit inefficient. And later on when white plays 2 moves here, then this becomes a big problem for black later. It's a lot of badachi. And least is that this would be almost always sente. Yeah, that's too much of a headache for black. And so there's some badachi left behind because of the shape here. So black has to be careful about that. Like if white plays somewhere in this vicinity, you usually see black almost immediately, almost always immediately playing here to get rid of that badachi. So it means white has potential to force from the right side. And although black has more territory, white has a lot of potential on the outside, which is the way Go Seigen likes to play. But of course, Kitani was always happy playing that way. So other response is pretty normal. Of course, in this case, if white plays here, it reverses to Go Seigen. Yeah. But white can also choose to play on the other side, like this. White has the option, so white usually leaves it at this point. And so people who didn't like to have that disadvantage would crawl, and then the Nadare Joseki was usually turning out fairly well for Go Seigen. And I think part of it was because he was the person who was inventing new moves in this shape, and the normal variations tended to favor white, I think, at this point. But nowadays, people don't play this anymore, because nowadays the general agreement is that it seems to favor black. So, as you might have noticed, usually if we have a Nadare shape like this, in professional games you don't see white playing the Nadare. Instead you see white playing, maybe locally white will be playing this one, much more popular. So we see that white is actually backing out of this Joseki nowadays. So that changes a lot of the whole plan here. So we can't just copy what he was doing, how many years ago was it?
75.
7 years ago. It's too long ago, I suppose.
Again.
And he plays again, yeah. And it's the same thing. If black plays here, white's planning to play this shape at some point. And I think in this position, he was going to play it immediately. But when black played here, so it's really hard to go into. I think that the impression I get from studying with Go Seigen for more than a decade is that he has a very detailed plan, but it's very confusing when he tries to explain it. So we'll just skip that part. And so the reason for this move again is that white is at some point planning to push there. So this is a very big move. Well, that's an interesting question, because when I was going to Go Seigen's study group, generally his idea was that white should play him. And so maybe nowadays he would play here and allow that. That's a lot of moves in one place. And depending on how the game develops, white can play on this side like this. Usually black will always answer it, usually. Or white can immediately play here, white has to jump into the right side. This is another shape that can work. Locally, it's not so good for white if black just plays there. So a lot of these shapes that Go Seigen will be using are not so good locally. So it all depends on the timing and the overall position. So he's not going to do it yet. Locally, I think the best move for white is to extend here. But, nowadays, his idea is that he's going to leave it. And it's too many moves for black to play one more move here. It's quite similar to, you might say, black playing here. It's a little better for black. But you can't expect black to play things like that. Yes, it's a bit different.
Yes.
Yeah. So although this is better than that, his idea is that it's too many moves. So it's very typical of Go Seigen's style that he's willing to take a local loss in order to give his opponent over-concentrated. But in this game, he plays here. I think that at this point of his career, he was almost always extending. And he would tell us that it's okay for white to play this way at the center. But he would never give us a diagram that started with white playing that way. He said it's okay. But then he would show us an opening that didn't do it. He said it's white head. So it's sort of strange. He didn't deny this move, but he didn't really want to play. And he actually this is the Joseki, and it's very interesting because the two players, Go Seigen and Kitani, a few months before this, played a similar game. I think there's a slight difference in the rest of the board, but it's about the same number of moves. And in that game also, Kitani played here. And Hoingo Shusai was the commentator. He was giving comments from the newspaper. And he said that that's a bad move and the Joseki should be the nice move. And this, in Go Seigen's game collection, they have the dates of the newspapers, the dates the newspapers came out. And the newspaper for the earlier game came out was just a couple of days, I think, before this match. So Kitani was making a comment as he played this. He sort of jokingly said that Go Seigen is going to be mad with me because I'm doing it again, because I don't like to play the next one.
He doesn't want to play here.
So I have a suspicion that he saw the newspaper. Yeah.
Do you, Mr. Mika, maybe give a clue what's the difference between
Well, if you asked 100 pros, I think 99 at least would say that the nice one is better. But also they all know that Kitani played there, so maybe those of the Kitani school would hesitate to say it outright. There is the fact that when Kitani jumps into his opponent's moyo, he usually hopes to make a ko somewhere, right? And so there's a ko threat here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that he said at some point. It wasn't during this game. I remember that he said it at some point in his career, that he didn't like to leave that ko threat. And if you say White's going to play a move, if White plays something like this, then we can compare this shape, for instance, to something like this. This is if we insist that White's going to play a local move, something like this, right? This is a better shape for it. So if White's going to play a local move, the nice move is better. So that's one way to look at it. But there's also the fact that the local move is pretty small at this point. So White's not going to play it. Yeah. So in that case, why not play this? It's very difficult to really completely refute this. Because this is much more important. This is what White's going to play. And, yeah. And now if White plays here, now it's going to get better for White. If we assume this variation. Now you see White has a nice framework. Without this, Black would immediately jump in and play a card or something. But now it's a nice framework. So now it is a fairly big move. Although it's a bit strange to see Black playing so many moves in one part of the board. And my feeling is that if it was a 6.5 Komi game, I would be happy to play with White.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't play.
Well, I would just play here and then play the next move here, or here maybe. And that would be more speed oriented. But it's a very Kitani style.
Yes, that is very
Very Kitani. He's not going to be very flighty here. He's just making territory, and he's sure that he can erase anything that White made.
Why is this conflict?
Well, he's building, in a way, he's building thickness. This is very similar to the style that Chokun developed, actually. And that when he's taking territory, he's also making living groups. And if he has a lot of living groups, then he can later make one weak group, and he feels that he should be able to make life with it. Whereas if he has what some people call thickness or walls, then if they don't necessarily have eyes, then they can potentially become a weak group. So he prefers to make territory, which is going to be alive. And so that's something that Chokun picked up. And you can see that thickness over there, and I think it can be called thickness, is sort of looking at the left side. It's looking to invade, for instance, something like this would be an invasion like that, or to attack this one. But this is also a key point in that it looks at the weak point corner here, which is also a problem. So Black has a lot of invasion points. And so it's pretty reasonable that White protects the lower side of it. Left side, sorry. Yeah. Another Kitani style move. I wouldn't really recommend this move to normal players. Another interesting thing, actually I saw this in the game collection, but I also, Go Seigen actually remembered it and was reminiscing about this game and talked about this. He after the game, he wondered if maybe he should have extended once. And he asked Kitani, what will you do? And Kitani was laughing, he said he would crawl, gaining 4 points each time. Sort of,
4 point.
and sort of implying that he was willing to pull as long as Go Seigen was willing to extend. But Go Seigen's reply to that is that in that case, he would be happier because it would be easy for him to handle the white stones here. Relatively easier, having a stronger shape. It would be easier for him to extend the white stones. Yeah, if he had extended the stones. So that was Go Seigen's comment. I'm not really sure I agree completely. Locally, it's better for white, but of course in the game, he was able to play 2 moves on the right side. I'll take
One, this move from here,
Black played one,
and then
and the reason white was able to play 2 moves on the right side is because it's relatively smaller. If it was 4 stones, then now it's much bigger for black to play a number of moves here. So white would have to immediately escape. Whereas when it's just 3 stones, it's 1 stone smaller. So white can afford to play 2 stones on the right. So I'm not sure, I think both of them are playable for white, I would say. When I say playable for white, it's really a bad expression for white. It's maybe good for white, it's more direct. And yeah, this is sort of like a jubango. If white plays here, black will jump into the tertiary point. And that kind of double extension from the start point is an example of bad play. Yes. So white plays the kosumi, and this is still a pretty big move, so sort of to be expected. Now, when I first saw this, I have gone through the Go Seigen collection another one. But when I first saw this, I thought this was really strange order of moves. It seemed that it was almost artificial, that white would play here and black would answer it in the middle of this exchange here. But looking at it, I see that there is a reason for this. And the immediate reason is that if white extends here, he's probably afraid that black will push here. And white doesn't want to get pushed too far, so he wants to play the honey. And black will cut. Or maybe just here. And it's a difficult fight. And so the peak has to do with it, because if he gets the peak in, and black pushes again, now white will extend here, and threading the cut here. If black continues in the center, this is pretty troublesome, because white can take the 1 stone on the ladder, or can actually it would just play here. It's Miyai, more or less. Capturing the 2 stones and saving these stones. And since the left side in this game is pretty important, white can afford to do this kind of trade. And so if we assume this is coursing, with this exchange in, white can now play a hane. And maybe just here. Actually, I think the latter favors white. So white can actually even just play here. And so I believe, you agree? Yeah. Actually, it comes through here. It's a kind of an interesting matter. But
it takes time.
it takes time. You can work it out on the board maybe. It comes through here and it changes to kind of a squeeze and ends up as a ladder. This is one of the cases where you can read something like 30 or 40 moves. So that's the meaning behind this peak. And usually you would think that this is such a horrible shape that white should have placed the piece first. But since the left side is fairly important, I think that white can be satisfied with this kind of trade. In which case black needs 1 more move to capture the stones. And so black answered. Yes? Question? Oh, no? Okay. So black didn't put. I think it was because of this peak that black changed his tactics. And again, and he takes territory.
Ah.
Yeah, he's just taking all the territory moves first. And then
How
he's
many
going
points is this?
that's a difficult question. But in this case, you can see that it's going to be, even if white displays here, actually you might be pushing here. It's a good, it's solid territory. 12 points, 20 points in territory. But there's also the fact that when white jumps in with something like this, black will have to be on the defensive now. Because when a fight comes up, black really wants to play this fight. But then black will not have a completely alive shape. So there's a big difference in the fighting on the lower side after black plays here. So it's 20 points plus that extra difference. And it was so it's the eyes that he's really, although he likes territory, he likes to have eyes too.
Very consistent.
Yeah. So now if white plays here, black's going to play very strongly. And we can see in this variation, if white really usually starts to invade this side with a move like this. And if black plays here, white can play here. If black plays here, white can play here. How is the ladder? The ladder is good for black, but white has ladder breaks like this. So since the lower side is expected to be black's territory, white can afford to do that and then play a ladder break. And so this is sort of ideal for white. But when white does this, since black has a strong shape here, he's going to fight like this. Just for instance, I might not be playing the best moves for white. But we can see that this white troop is going to be trouble. So maybe something like that. And so everything is going to fall apart when white does this. So white doesn't really want to start a fight on the lower side. And so he plays this move instead, which is sort of just giving, this is sort of asking black to surround the lower side, giving the lower side to black. And it works very well in this game, because white's aiming to get the center here. It's sort of hard to tell at this point. Eventually aiming for center. So now you see it's a very different thing if black plays on the outside, because white has much better shape. So black's sort of induced to take the territory here. Of course, Kitani is probably happy about that, but it fits with Go Seigen's plan. And white plays the jump. Yeah, he's not going to try to save that zone. He's just reinforcing. This lower right area is pretty weak, actually. It's a territorial formation. It's not really completely territorial, so he's trying to reinforce that. And he didn't want to fight with these guys, obviously. So he was giving black a keystone. And then white continued pushing left. And then pulled back. This move sort of, it seems strange to me at first, because this is the proper shape.
I see. Cut.
If black cuts, then white plays here.
Same thing.
So I was worried about this move. I thought this would. I wondered why he didn't play here. I think that his reason was that it would be weak against this kind of move play, and white has a stronger shape if he plays here. And white will answer this with this move, by the way. That extends. And just throw away those things. Yeah. It's not very important. But that could change. It could change a bit if black has this extra forcing move. Black would maybe play it on it more strongly. So I think that was maybe what he was worried about. He was more worried about the center. And then a normal player would probably play here. Yeah, hoping to exchange for this, and then playing the red side, which is the last big point. That one, yeah. That's the largest big territorial point. With that move, I forget. I counted it, but I forget. Let's see, I'll count again. It's almost 40 points. And then, 40 points. Yeah. And then he has something like 25 to 30, well, not 30, 25. So 65 points. And it's not, black has, well, I'll show you now. This is going to be one of the highlights of the game if we have enough time to get there. But the very least black can do is play like this to make me out of this and this. So this is one way he can invade the lower right corner. It's almost a joseki.
Does this one is what I was thinking?
Yes?
pan at 18-2 is not always sent.
Not always sent it, but actually usually it is. Yeah. At this point of the game, I think it would.
I would be worried about the clan, honestly.
This one, yeah.
Yes.
Well, it depends. Maybe here. This gets really technical.
Yes.
I think you come out later.
Yes.
He
Just
doesn't play
answer
the high
like
end
this.
games.
Just answer like
He
this.
finds a better move. But just to show the Joseki shape. Yeah. And this would sort of reduce the moil here, and black would be feeling safe maybe.
So it's a 65 points for
40, 50, no, 65, yeah. White doesn't have any territory.
It's not complicated.
It's not territory, sort of territory here. It's all sort of hard to judge. It's not really territory. And so I think what he was worried about was that white would play this side. Yeah. And it looks actually pretty difficult for white to kill these stones, because white can force with moves like this. If he gets into trouble, he can force with moves like this and make ice pretty quickly. This would be a living shape. And so he just took the territory. So he gets his 65 points. And white plays here. And so this is a huge moil here. At this point, I would want to play with white. I think with a no komi game, even with no komi, I would prefer to play with white. So I think that white has been very successful in his opening. But Kitani is sort of, I think he sort of knows that, but he's confident in his ability to reduce moils. And so, although technically Mike's supposed to be behind, he feels confident that he can reduce the moil and in a position that he likes to play. He's going to start his attack. This is sort of looking to the left and the right at the same time. It's almost a Miyagi kind of move. Yeah. Okay. I think a normal player would probably play something like this. Yeah. Maybe white pushes. Maybe something like this. I think a normal player would be looking at some kind of variation like this, where black would be hoping to escape, looking at the weakness here, hoping to escape to the left, looking at shapes like this maybe. And like this. Well, I don't know. Maybe someone else would say that's not normal. That's what I would be looking at. But instead he played here, which looks like an overplay. But it actually has a lot of reading in it. He's read out a lot of variations. This looks like something I would do in a handicap game. A lot of time, I forget.
10 hours.
10 hours? Yeah. I think it's more. Yeah. I think it took him 3 days to play the game.
Wow. Tomorrow, Thursday, we are going to see, Wednesday, we're going to see the place, this game. Right?
Oh, Kamakura?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kamakura.
Now, if white pulls back here, this is one of the choices white has. To pull back here. I think if black plays straightforwardly, it would be like this. Sort of hoping actually for white to capture the stone here, so that black can force with here and so on. It looks like black can probably make some kind of sawaki because he has forcing moves here. And so either to the left or to the right. And there's some weakness in this position also. It looks like maybe it's going to work for black. But I think he has to worry about white not playing the cut. And just continuing on the outside. Which actually is, I sort of throw a blank at this point. I can't see how black's going to make sabaki. And at this point it becomes too big for him to do anything fancy in the corner. So I would be a bit worried to be playing this. And so I thought about this position. And I decided maybe black would be doing something like this to see what white does. And locally white will probably want, if we ignore the shape here, white wants to play here. If black plays here, white plays here, black plays here, white plays here. This is actually a dead shape.
Locally dead.
Yes. It's one of those smibo problems. If black plays here, this is easy, right? If black plays here, And it's dead again. So if we made a single problem of this, white would be able to kill it. But even in this shape, it's a lot of bad objects. But maybe black would maybe cut, or maybe I would be happier with the honey underneath. Because if white stands
Very annoying.
annoying, yeah. Now we can see that if black gets the cut here, it's going to sort of connect up with Badaji here maybe. And if white connects, it's going to be easy for black to do. And if white plays something like this, it looks like now black's going to, the potential connection here, and at the very least black gets an extra move towards the center. So it looks like this is going to work. So this is the answer I came up with. Of course, it's too late to ask the center. So I guess that's the only answer I have. So white plays this way to make it heavier. So that white's thinking of the potential of maybe a trade, something like this, in which case the exchange here would make this, or even if black eventually ends up pushing through here, there's a big difference with this exchange here, making black heavier on this side and less mobile on the other side. So white is sort of worried about this stone doing something like this. Black doing something with this stone, in which case he wants to have this exchange here, to have a stronger shape towards the center. And now black plays this way. And the whole sequence here is hinged on the fact that this move is more effective than it seems at first. I thought maybe white would just play here. And it looks like black can't do anything. Like if black continues, so far it's okay. Black's sort of in trouble now, because there's too many points where he has to connect. He doesn't want white to cut here, because then white would be able to throw away these two stones. Dead, right? And so black would want to connect here. White can connect here and plan something on the outside. Yeah, it's pretty bad for black. So the whole thing is very confined. Black might be able to escape with his life, but he's not going to gain very much. For instance, if we have this kind of thing, this is going to be bad for black. So this would not be very much of a success. But then, of course, we see that this cutting here, although it looks like it's a good move, is actually very bad for Fiji. And it's better for black to connect immediately. And white pulls basketball. White already has a bad shape. Black can, of course, with this. And we notice the pushing move here is forcing. So now the pushing here is going to be sorry, this move got slided to the side. Now this is going to be a forcing. So white answers this. Black goes here. And we can see that now these stones are pretty safe now, because black always has this sort of movement. And white's in trouble. If white saves these, now it's in trouble here. I could go into detail here, but this is going to be pretty bad for white. I'm not going to go into detail. This is what I wanted to say. It's actually pretty, let's just do a few more moves here. White wants to play like this. It's pretty hard for white to kill this move, actually, itself. If we have white playing here, black can already get a ko with this move. Because if white plays the placement, black can cut. Black might cut first, actually. If white plays 100, black plays the ko. So if white plays here, now black's going to play here. Here. This is usually a dead shape. Black plays here once. And again, if white plays here, now this and this are going to be yeah. If white plays here, this time black connects on this side, sorry, and has the forcing finger. Yeah. So maybe white's going to capture these three stones if he really works at it, but the whole corner is going to be destroyed. Now black connects underneath. Now this time if he just plays here, this is sort of bad, because these three stones get killed. But again, now black changes the place where he connects. Instead of connecting here, he connects here this time. And now and the whole thing connects. White can kill it. But we can see after this kind of thing happens, black's going to win the semi-active. So this goes down. Even if white at some point manages to get this exchange in, it's still going to be effective. So yeah, in the end I did go into the whole thing. But something like this. So connecting underneath was not an option. So he plays here. At this point, the cut here and this move were Nihon. If black plays, black actually extended once. This is a good move. I won't go into it right now. We'll see what happens next. If black pushes here, white's going to cut here. Black can get this. This is nice as far as it goes. This is a nice exchange. But we do see that white's connected up here. Black needs to put a stone in here. White plays here. It's much better than the shape where white was on the second line and had a lot of bad aji towards the corner. In this shape, white has good aji towards the corner and doesn't really have to worry about the loose shape here because it's so thick. It's less of a problem. So in this case, I think that black would probably play here and white would be able to finish the territory here. Because it's relatively thick, black would not want to, would prefer to play this move probably. And because this is a relatively good shape for white compared to what would have happened if white had played underneath, I think white is ahead at this point. So this is white's plan. And so black could not allow that. And he plays here, which is a Tesuji. If white plays here, black's going to play here. Now, black's already, black can capture these stones with a move like this. So this is pretty efficient for black. Relatively good for black. So white just took the 2 stones. Black plays here. And this is a key point here, white. So white's whole plan was that he could play here and get a nice shape in the center. And he already knows that he's ahead. So I think that my impression when white played here was that white was ahead. And at this point, again, looking at the overall position, it's relatively easy to see that white's ahead. And so I would say that it must be, you'd have to go back to the opening. I'm not sure which move. Maybe this one. Yeah. Again, a point where I would have played here. And, so black takes these stones. Black has captured this white. So it's one of more territory. Yeah. This is forcing because if black leaves it, white can win the semi. This is the semi here. Actually, well, this is just the semi that actually happened at the game. It's another version of the semi. But this is the one that white's probably going to play for. It's called the Sekito Shibori in Japanese. It's because this is a gravestone shape. These 6 and the 2 here are said to resemble a Japanese gravestone. It has a little tower sticking out. And we can see that this is a kind of a Daimizmari shape. A normal player, I think, would protect this. I have the right shape, don't I? Yes. Would have moved something like this maybe, right? But instead, Kitani played here. And we can see to accomplish that squeeze, at some point white has to play here. And so by putting a stone here, black has stopped that squeeze and gained an extra liberty here. So the semi that was a 1-move win for white is now a 1-move loss for white. Instead of playing a move like this, which would be better aji, and probably a bit more territory too, he chose to play here because he was hoping to maybe extend at some point, or play some kikashi from outside. So he was trying to get some extra aji. And it had a very unexpected result. And now white finishes his territory. How much more time do we have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so now we get to the lower right corner. This move is the standard invasion. And again, normally black would be able just to live like this. But in this game, white has something like 67 points in the territory up to the center here, then some extra points here. Black has, if you count, let's say, if we count it this way, it's going to be 50. And then less than 40 over there, because white can't get this, you'll say. So almost 9 points. But white has something in the vicinity of 70 already here. And then can play this, you'll say, and then get some territory here. So obviously white's going to win by something like 5 points. It's not such a big one, but it's not good enough for black. So it plays here. It's a strategy. But when you see black playing these moves, you sort of wonder if he's losing up, because it's sort of like he's playing 3 in a row or something. There's a reason for this. White there. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's the normal move. Yeah, and what black would hope for is to maybe play here, and then get this shape, and then live in the corner, and have some aji here. This would give a close game for black. It's a lot more territory in the corner, and some bad aji. This would maybe be good for black. Actually, I think it's pretty close. But of course, in actual practice, white can just take the one stone. And black doesn't have anything that, maybe. Black doesn't have anything really special on the side. So that's not good enough. Also, if he plays here, this is actually worse than playing the hane first, because it's better aji for white. So now it's going to die. So this is not good. Even if white plays here, actually, it's not going to work. There's not enough space there. So these are all bad variations. So he played here. So there's a good reason for this. Because the natural seeming move for white is to play here. This looks like a safe move. So now black's going to play here. And you can see a difference. In this shape, black didn't have any good follow-up. But with this exchange here, he's going to connect underneath. So and he still has some aji in this stone. Although he's not going to live in the corner, this time he's going to play here and reduce the territory. That's if he has a chance later. And so gaining here and then having the cut to look at, and then being able to do this also would be a big gain. So that's the meaning behind this move. And if white has to, has to play here, then black gets a nice shape on this side. And although this is a bad exchange, it's not a complete loss if black at some point gets to play here and play the tari, then it would be actually potentially a custom. So it's not a complete loss. So white refutes that by playing here. And now black plays here, right? Yes. And so now if white plays here, what happens is that black is going to play here once, and play here once. And troll. The corner is going to die. It's going to die. But he's going to get a lot of forcing moves from the center. Like he's going to play something like this. And we can see that if white has to worry about semi here, white's going to win the semi. But if we count just shapes like this, and we assume that white's going to be playing all these moves to capture it, it's just 10 points. And then some extra to make about 15. So that's a pretty small territory. And the whole center is gone, and white has to worry about this move too. So a fight here would be dangerous because of this stuff. So this is black's plan. I'm giving you a lot of variations. Yeah. So white. Now white plays carefully here. This way, if black connects, then white can just push through. It's no big problem. And his idea is that black plays here, white's going to allow it to live. That's a nice line. But in return, white gets to play this move, and then this move. And this has become a very bad exchange. So this is white's plan. Definitely not, yeah. Well, you can play it if you want to lose. So white's gained something like more than 10 points in this exchange. And it's actually maybe more valuable than the extra points black gained. So this would be another win for white. And so we see Kitani hopping around from one part of the side to the other side, as if he's just having fun. But there's a reason for each move. And now you can see that black can next play here and here. And because of these stones, white cannot close it in. So there's trouble here if white leaves it. If white answers here, now black's going to continue with this move. And black's got 2 extra points here and an extra cut here, even though white gets this slide here later. It's much better for black compared to white playing the ground. So white doesn't answer. White plays here. This gets rid of the aji here, because now white can just cover it and capture these. So white got rid of that problem. And has killed the corner too. Yes. Black plays here, and white plays here. At this point, Go Seigen is sort of declaring this victory. He realizes that he's winning. So he plays a good aji move in the center. It would have been feasible, I think, for white to play something like this, or something like this also. But he chose to play the safe move, because he knows he's ahead. But this gets turned around. It's very interesting. Because Kitani plays here, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, he plays here first. And later on, white's going to play here, which could have been the losing move. And it turns out that this move was actually enticing white. Because without this exchange, it would have been out of the question. Without the exchange, black can easily win the semi here. Because you can see black has 3 moves. And can just continue filling white's liberties and win by 1 move. So white wouldn't even dream of playing there if black hadn't played this exchange. Now it looks like white's going to win by 1 move. Because black has only 2 moves to be a target. So this is actually setting a trap. There's no really reason for black to play here. He's just setting a trap. It's really interesting. Then he plays here. Black is hoping for this to happen. In which case he would go back to the side here. This isn't so bad for black. This is a big sentei. So white plays on the outside. We have another tsumego if black plays here. We have to assume that this is at some point going to be played. It has to do with the corner. This is another tsumego problem, in which case black's going to die. I think I'm running out of time now, so black has to play here. And this move, yes. If white had played simply here, I think it was a slight, small difference. I think about 2 points, or maybe about 5 points ahead of white. And the center here is pretty difficult, so I'm not really sure. But when I worked out to the yosei that I would play, it looked like white was about to win. And people seem to tend to agree with me. Instead, you play here, and we start this ko. Yeah.
Interesting shape-up.
Important for black to start with this ko thread, because after we see white curling all the way into black's territory, it's not going to be big enough. So he wants to play it now to make the following ko threads clear.
Oh my god.
No. You have to jump. Black has to keep on filling liberties.
I hope you read this.
And finally, it becomes ko. This is actually a pretty big ko thread. Here. So white gains a big chunk of territory here. But there's no way to kill this black group. let's just ignore the details here. This is actually a interesting sequence in itself. And white plays here. And this is the final large point. Oh, sorry. I was so hurried I forgot to play the Atari here. Yeah. This was a pretty outstanding test of district. Yeah, it was a good move. Because black has set up the Atari here, which will, even if white connects, black will cut and send and get a lot of forcing moves. So he's got something in the bank there that he's going to use later. And if he had just simply played here, now I'm pretty confident that black's about 3 points ahead.
Now, see,
Yeah.
people are here for black.
For black.
Why?
Because the code here was a loss for
It's
white.
a bigger.
I guess that means he lost about 5 points in the trade.
But at the end, also, this last end game.
Well, it's sort of me-eyed with these 2 points were sort of me-eyed. If I was white, I would have played this one, but I think it has something to do with his hope to get a reversal and fighting the center. It was some kind of strategy that he had. But they're about the same size.
Yeah, 5 points ahead.
Well, I thought white was 2 points ahead before,
Other time,
if he had avoided the call. After this, now I think black is 3 points, so it's a 5 point difference. But what he played was he played here, the losing move. He forgot about the problem here. And we get back to this shape. In which black is only winning by 1 move. So this is forcing. And so white has a call here. And white is winning this call by 1 closer. Am I past my time limit?
1 moment.
Maybe I can show you the call. This is actually a pretty big call fix, almost 22 points. So black had to answer it. Then I think he played here. And took the 2 stones. Black doesn't have enough close thread. He has 1 close thread here and 1 close thread here. White has a close thread here. If he needs to, he can play this one. He has a close thread here, and he has a close thread here. So white can actually win the ko again. And at this point, black gave up the ko by connecting. He could have played, this is not forcing, it's only about 3 points. He could have tried playing this move, which I think is probably going to be forcing. And this would be a ko thread. So he has 2 ko threads. White has a ko thread here, white has a ko thread here, which is technically it's a small loss, but it's about the same loss as if black plays this one. And if he gets desperate, he can use this ko thread too. So white has more ko threads. So black plays here and white plays here. And so they still played the rest of the Yosei. White ended up winning by 2 points.
I heard that Kitani has another story. He has a blood.
He had a nosebleed during the game and
I
something.
don't know which
He
means.
got excited. Much before that. I think it maybe was the first day.
Yes.
First or second. It was pretty early in the game, if I remember correctly. And I think Go Seigen played the following move as a sealed move, actually, to finish that day. So it was somewhere in the middle game.
Very hard, just in case.
Well, yeah, going through it so quickly, probably for some of you it might be a bit hard to follow, since I had a limited amount of time. I wanted to show everyone this code here.
Yes. Thank you very much. Please.